Hello, everybody, and welcome to Forever Sports. And some breaking news: Rassie Erasmus has officially named the 21-strong group that will attend a virtual alignment camp ahead of the Springbok season, with two uncapped players included in the form of Kolisari as well as JJ van der Mesht, a player who has been quite literally breaking down the door since his move to the Premiership. And the behemoth of a lock has been putting a lot of work in to try and get onto the national radar, and it has worked. There's been lots of calls for him to get the call up or the invitation, and Rassie Erasmus has obliged as he added the big lock to the group. It's a very interesting group, and they will basically attend a virtual alignment camp, which is basically the same thing that we saw what the Springboks had last week, or the week before, I think it was, with regards to having kind of those meetings, kind of boardroom sessions, inverted commas, for all the players that play their rugby outside of South Africa. Before we get into the group, please do smash a like on the video. Please do subscribe to the channel as well. So let's get into it, shall we? So we had a very large in-person camp a couple of weeks ago, and there were new call-ups, the likes of Paul de Villiers, for example, getting the call-up for the first time. A couple of young players like Riley Norton, Marcus Muller, some under 20 players also included. And now we've got sort of the players who are overseas based. Now, this was always a smaller group. And what's quite interesting is you very rarely have uncapped players in this group, because it's, often kind of almost accepted that players don't generally make their debuts or kind of get brought into the box setup once they, if they're overseas already. Basically, it's kind of a situation where if you get the call up once you're here and you kind of get capped type of thing, and then you move overseas, it's quite much more straightforward to stay within the box setup. But we've only seen sort of certain players like a Jasper Wiese, for example, get the call up whilst being based overseas for the very first time. And this time we have seen two players get that invitation. So, yeah, let's have a look at exactly what we show. So, Kolisari, who's currently playing in France, was supposed to come to the Bulls. Then the kind of things all kind of sort of changed, the likes of that, playing his rugby for Bordeaux, Begley, and then JJ van der Mesht, who made the move to Northampton this season. And they will feature along 16 World Cup winners in the mix. A very interesting one is that Herschel Jantjies is back in the mix and received an invitation. And it's exactly kind of the reason he left, isn't it? Things just weren't working for him at the Stormers. And, sometimes you just need a change of scenery. Sometimes you need a bit of a fresh start where people kind of compare you to what you maybe were, or even the current players. Maybe it's an environment that no longer just kind of works for you. And he made the move. Well, it's gone overseas, and it's paid dividends. I think he's playing a lot better, and he's now got that invitation to attend. And you've also got Lekanya, who has been included. Although I don't think Lekanya is that high up in the pecking order these days, is still very much in the mix and an equation. In terms of the other Rugby World Cup winners, you've got Malcolm Marx, Peter Steph du Toit, Luat de Jager, Thomas du Toit, Jean Klein, Franco Master, Kwagga Smith, Archie Snyman, Jasper Wiese. You've also then got Damien Delende, Faf de Klerk, Jesse Creel, Jason Colby, as well as Mani Lebok. So it's a very strong group. Now, in terms of the box season, all things will start on the 20th of June with a clash against the Barbarians in Quebec. And Rasmus said he was excited to work with Sadi and Van der Mesht, who advanced through South Africa junior structures and have gone on to do some pretty good things overseas. Basically, two sessions will be hosted throughout the day to accommodate the players' different time zones, where they'll be presented with the box macro plan for the year and detailed visions by Rassie Erasmus and his coaching team. And there's then an in-person, this follows the in-person camp with 49 players reported for duty. So in total, 70 players have kind of been called up or being invited to these alignment camps. And that's kind of your sort of radar really to which players are kind of on the radar to be featured for the box. I don't think you're going to see a Marcus Muller, for example, play for the box. But that's kind of your almost like a short list really of players who are on the fringes and kind of on the minds of the coaches. So in terms of what Rassie Erasmus had to say, he said our in-person alignment camp was successful in terms of exposing the players to our expectations and the detail we are looking for at international level this season, and we are thrilled to present those plans to the overseas-based players. He says the main purpose of the alignment camp is to get everyone on the same page and aligned and ensure that they understand our values and what we are trying to achieve on the field. Speaking about the call-ups themselves, he said Carlo and JJ have performed really well for the clubs this season, and players such as Herschel and Lacanio last played for us a while ago, so it's important that they are up to date with how our systems have changed and what our key pillars are. So it is pleasing to see them among this experienced group of international players. He then said that they will host a second alignment camp in Cape Town, followed by another virtual alignment camp in May, and that will then be followed by the first fixtures really in June, July, and the kind of first camps, the actual camps when you kind of get called into a squad itself. So with regards to the players that have been invited, we can see it's Peter Steph, Toy, Lurt Diago, Jean-Luc Depree, Thomas Toy, Jean Clay, Malcolm Marks, Franco Master, Collie Sari, Kwaka Smith, Archie Sneeman, Bowen Fenter, JJ van der Mesht, Manus van der Merwe, and Jasper Wiese. No real surprises there. In the backs, Damien Delende, Lakanya, Faf de Klerk, Hosha Yankees, Jesse Creel, Chesn Colby, and Moni Liebach. So I don't think there are too many surprises across that kind of group. I like the fact that they brought those two players in. I mean, JJ van der Mesht is very much a Bok DNA player with regards to just an enormous size of the man. The big sort of question marks for him have been over the mobility, for example, sometimes with regards to can he kind of shift around the park. So I don't know what's going on.
We play this kind of game.
Very, very strange. Apologies for that. And PC Herbert Hayward. But yeah, it's a player who I think has got a lot of potential. He left very much due to the top 14, has gone to Northampton, where they've spoken about the fact that he's had to really up his fitness. He's had to really work hard on that part as well of the game, and he has. And I think now the question mark is he now ready for international rugby? And lock is a position where a lot of the players are older players. Even if you look at this group, for example, Jean Clay and Franco Mossad, Archie Sneeman, Peter the Toy, if you look at him as a lock option, they're not youngsters at the end of the day. Lurt Diago. So it's good to see younger players, especially in the locks, coming through that can potentially do a job. Salman Murat hasn't always worked out. Ruan Nokia, I think, solidified a spot. But we haven't seen too many young locks come in and really take the opportunity. And they'll really be hoping that JJ van der Mesh can come in and do exactly that. So let me know what your thoughts are on the squad or the lineman camp squad and those invited, and whether we might actually see these players. I think Carlos Sardi at tight end is again a position we want to strengthen, so I think it's good to see. I think he would have been invited a lot sooner had he stayed, at the Lions, for example. Things didn't really work out after he left, went to the Sharks. Things didn't really work out for him there. But at the Lions, he was very close to a Springbok call-up, and it's taken him maybe a little bit more longer than he would have liked, but he is now firmly back on the radar. Please do smash like on the video on the way out. Please do subscribe to the channel as well. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Steve, and I'll chat to you soon.